The Galactic Medical Bay had never seen anything like this. Commander Vexthor of the Krathian Armada limped through the pristine corridors of the Celestial Dawn, his chitinous leg dragging behind him. The injury was 3 cycles old, parting gift from the scare of ambush near the Epsilon Rim. His own species' healers had tried their best. Krathian medicine focused on amputation and replacement. Efficient, they called it. Vexthor called it barbaric. You are certain about this? His second officer, a nervous Quillan named Tyrix, asked for the 5th time. The cubs spoke truth, Vexthor replied, his mandibles clicking with determination. Humans fix what is broken. It had started with the children, 3 months prior. During a cultural exchange program that most species considered political theater, a group of human younglings had visited the Krathian flagship. They were small things, soft and fragile, with their oversized eyes and strange fascination with everything they encountered. The Krathian warriors had towered over them, apex predators entertaining what they assumed were prey species. Offspring out of diplomatic courtesy. Then, Junior Tactical Officer Raxel had made a mistake, showing off his ceremonial blade to the cubs. He'd fumbled and shattered a priceless Krathian Artefacta crystalline data storage device, containing his family's 7-generation combat history. The crystal had exploded into dozens of pieces, irreparable by any known technology. Raxel had stood there, paralyzed with shame, while his superior officers looked on in stony silence. His career was over. His family dishonored. A small human female with dark curls had tugged on his armor plating. "Don't cry," the child named Romy had said, her voice impossibly gentle. "Humans fix broken things. My dad can fix it." The Krathians had laughed a sound like grinding metal. Fix it. The crystal was molecular structure, ancient technology, beyond repair. But the human child had been insistent, and her father, a maintenance technician named Isaiah stationed on the exchange vessel, had been summoned. What happened next had become legend. Isaiah had studied the fragments for only a few minutes, his brown eyes moving across the pieces with an intensity that made the warriors uncomfortable. Then he'd asked for a soldering iron, some optical adhesive, and maybe some UV resin if you have it. Nobody knew what half those things were. For 6 hours, Isaiah had worked. His daughter Romy had sat beside him, holding a light, passing him tools, humming softly. The Krathian officers had watched in fascination as the humans surprisingly dexterous. Fingers manipulated fragments that should have been impossible to align. He'd used instruments so primitive the Krathians didn't have names for them. He'd muttered to himself about surface tension and refractive indices in ways that sounded more like prayer than science. When he'd finished, the crystal wasn't just repaired, it was better. The data structure was intact, and Isaiah had somehow reinforced the weak points in the original design. "You just have to understand what something wants to be," he'd told the stunned warriors. Wiping his hands on his coveralls, "Everything broken wants to be whole again. You just have to listen to it." The story had spread through the fleet like plasma fire. Now, 3 months later, Commander Vexthor stood in the human medical facility aboard the Celestial Dawn, and he was not alone. The waiting area was filled with warriors. A Threxian mercenary with a shattered carapace sat beside a Yulian pilot whose wings had been torn in combat. A Draxan heavy weapons specialist held her mangled arm close to her chest. Her reptilian eyes fixed on the door marked Dr. Kenji Chen, reconstructive surgery. But Vexthor wasn't here for Dr. Chen. He was here for the maintenance bay, where Isaiah worked, Commander Vexthor. A human nurse, impossibly young-looking despite her rank insignia, called his name. "Isaiah will see you now." The maintenance bay had been converted into something between a workshop and a medical clinic. Isaiah stood at a workbench, now wearing what appeared to be medical scrubs. With Romeota now, but still small organizing supplies beside him, Commander Isaiah greeted him with that strange human custom of baring teeth that somehow meant friendliness. "Heard you've been walking on that for 3 cycles? Let's take a look." Vexthor had fought in 17 campaigns. He'd faced death without flinching. But as he settled onto the examination platform, he felt something uncomfortably like hope. Isaiah studied the leg with the same intensity he'd shown the crystal. His daughter assisted, scanning the injury with instruments that beeped and hummed. They spoke to each other in low tones, a medical shorthand that the translator barely caught. "The joint is fractured, but the nerve cluster is intact," Isaiah murmured. "We can work with this. Romy, prep the osteoregenerator and get me the micro-welder." "The good one, Dad," Romy said softly. "His biology is different from the specifications." "Then we adapt the specifications," Isaiah replied. And Vexter heard something in his voice, a stubborn refusal to accept limitation. "Everything broken wants to be whole. We just have to listen." Over the next 4 hours, Vexter experienced something he'd never known: repair instead of replacement. The humans worked with relentless patience, using a combination of advanced technology and improvised techniques that no Krathion healer would have considered. They spoke to him throughout, explaining what they were doing, asking how it felt, adjusting their approach based on his feedback. "Why do you do this?" Vexter finally asked. "Your species, you are not warriors. You are soft, fragile, yet you fix what we break, including yourselves. Why?" Isaiah paused in his work, meeting the commander's compound eyes. "Because we've been broken too many times to count," he said simply. "Humans have been breaking and fixing ourselves for thousands of years. We've learned that nothing is beyond repair if you care enough to try. And we figure if we can fix ourselves, why not help fix everyone else?" Romy added quietly. "Besides, broken things aren't useless things. They're just things that need help." When Vexter left the maintenance bay, he walked on his own leg, truly walked, without pain, without dragging. The joint was stronger than before, reinforced with a biocompatible alloy that Isaiah had fabricated himself. Word spread faster this time, within a week. The human medical and maintenance teams were overwhelmed. Warriors from across the fleet brought their irreparable injuries, their hopeless cases, their broken equipment, and broken bodies. And the humans, with their impossible patience and their stubborn refusal to accept that anything was beyond fixing, worked miracles. The predator species of the galaxy had finally learned something from their prey. That the greatest strength wasn't in breaking things, it was in the courage and compassion to make them whole again. And in the maintenance bay of the Celestial Dawn, a human father and his daughter continued their work, fixing what others had deemed unfixable, one broken thing at a time.